From CBS 2 News, this is a special report.
Mayor de Blasio is giving an update on the coronavirus outbreak in New York City. Let's listen in.
Keeping them healthy. We all think about our own lives, dealing with this new reality, wishing it was over. We all think about breaking free and what it would feel like to start to go back to normal. That's what every single one of us has running through our mind all day long. That's what so many conversations about, so many questions are about. We want to get back to our lives. We want to be able to feel the things that we felt, were really part of our everyday lives. Maybe we took them for granted a little bit. Maybe we didn't recognize how wonderful they were. And when we get back to normal, that day not too far from now, I hope and I pray we're all going to appreciate the little things a whole lot more. But right now, the question is, how do we get there? And I don't think people fall into the trap of thinking it's going to be easy. I think New Yorkers are tough. New Yorkers are resilient. New Yorkers are streetwise. We do not underestimate our enemy. We understand this will be a tough fight. And I do speak about this virus as an enemy because I think it's important to think about the fact that it's a fight that we all are waging. It's a fight that we all have to participate in. And again, New Yorkers have been outstanding in taking up this fight, doing everything we can possibly do to beat back this disease. But I want to be very clear, this virus does not defeat itself. We have to defeat it. We have to keep doing the hard work. And I think it's important when you think about that you not see yourselves as sort of witnesses to history, if you will, or just somehow this whole thing catching you up in it. I want you to think of yourselves as people who have power, remarkable power, to fight back, to be able to bend not only the curve of this disease, but the future, to create a different reality. Everything you do, and this is sort of clearer, I think, maybe than in almost any situation we've lived through, every single thing every one of us does has an impact. And if you add it up, everything you do each minute, each hour, each day, and then you add it up with 8.6 million other people, it becomes something much, much greater, obviously. But it takes on a power every time someone practices social distancing. Every time, even though they don't want to go back inside, they still go back inside. Every time people are smart about what they're doing, it adds up. Every time you use the hand sanitizer even, you're depriving the disease of yet another avenue. And you do that over and over. 8.6 million people do that over and over each day, millions and millions of times combined, and you actually are fighting back. So we see in the three indicators that we are displaying every day, we see evidence, real hard evidence that what you've done has had a tremendous impact. And that should be energizing and encouraging to every one of you that you're participating in something absolutely necessary. And I'll tell you something, people might have felt defeated, people might have felt overwhelmed. Instead, New Yorkers just stood on their own 2 feet and fought back, and I think it's going to be looked at as an incredibly noble moment in the history of the city. And we will come back, and we're going to come back with all the energy, all the strength, all the vibrancy that New York City has been known for generation upon generation. But the history will show it's because of what you did that we were able to come back. So these numbers we've gone over every day, they tell us a lot. And again, the goal here was to give you the power of seeing the same exact measures and then watch how they vary day by day. So you're part of this, all of us together. There's no mystery. There's no, secret laboratory somewhere where the numbers are being crunched. It's all out in the open to show you what's happening. And then we all judge together how we're doing. Now, I don't know what's happening in each and every state, each and every city. I don't pretend to understand the details of what they're all going through, but I do know a lot of states are rushing to reopen. I hope and pray they have very clear indicators that back up that decision. I hope and pray they're sharing them openly and transparently with the people of those states. Because if the facts don't merit that fast reopening, and if the facts are not out in the open, then there's a real danger that something else is being made a priority over what should matter most, which is saving human lives, protecting all of our health, making sure that we do this the right way so that when we reopen, we can do it once and for all and do it for good, not start to reopen and see a resurgence of the disease and then have to shut right back down again or even get more restrictive. So my fear is that there are people governed more by politics or image, or they're concerned about the economy than they're concerned about the health and welfare of their people. Now, we're trying to take not only a cautious, careful approach, but an approach that shows you exactly what is governing the decisions we're making. And these indicators speak volumes. They help you understand why we're doing what we're doing. They show you, obviously, some progress. They also give you a real clear caution about how much fight we still have to wage. And I think, look, my view is every one of you would rather have the blunt truth, would rather get the straight story of what it's going to take rather than be given a lot of platitudes and then find out they're false. So we are being real clear. And again, I'll talk about the progress, but I'm also going to talk about the underlying challenge. The challenge is, and I say this very sadly, that the coronavirus is alive and well and living in New York City. It's quite clear from the numbers, has not been beaten yet. So the facts just yesterday, 2,519 new cases identified in New York City yesterday. 320 deaths yesterday in New York City. These are really painful facts. These are all indicators of people's lives, families that are going through so much. In recent weeks, we hear numbers like this and we say, look, this is better than where we were a few weeks ago. That's something that shows we're moving in the right direction. That's true, but just think about what they mean, these facts, what they mean in and of themselves. And if it was any other time, it was 3 months ago or 3 years ago, and I said to you we had 320 deaths and 2,500 new cases, we would have been all deeply, deeply troubled. So we cannot lose the forest for the trees here. Yes, there's been real important progress, and we can and will make more, but we're still very much in this fight. We cannot forget what we're up against and the power of this disease. But if we find our own power, if we act on our own power, I'm also convinced we will prevail. So let's talk about these indicators and what they mean, not only day by day, but what they tell us over the last few weeks that we've been tracking and publishing this information. So on the indicator number one, the daily number of people admitted to hospitals for suspected COVID-19 cases. Okay. This indicator is simple. It tells us how many more patients our hospitals need to care for related to COVID-19. And when we started this, showing you these particular indicators, it was right after the very, very worst moments. So you go back to March 31st, 850 new admissions per day for COVID, astounding number. By April 11th, when we started showing you these numbers, down to 383, so obviously huge improvement. And now in the last 10, 11 days, down to 227. So 227 admitted for suspected COVID cases. That's this morning's report. Much, much better. But it's still 227 new cases in one day. That means we are not there yet. I'm stating the obvious, but I want to just hammer home the point. We're not there yet, and we need to be sober about it, and we still have a substantial distance to cover. Now, indicator number two, the daily number of people in ICUs across all of our public hospitals for suspected COVID-19. What does it tell us? Again, shows us how this fight is raging. And for the folks in those ICUs, they are literally fighting for their lives right now. And it's putting a huge strain, of course, on our hospital system. And so much of what we have done over the last 2 months has been to protect your lives by protecting your hospitals and your healthcare workers. We're in a better place again, but we still see way too many people in those ICUs. So, again, we've seen over time some progress, but in this one, we've got to understand that this is a telling report because it shows this one has not moved as much, and that's cautionary. So the day we launched indicators, we were already at a really troubling point for our public hospitals. They were more than double their normal ICU capacity, and that looked like it was about to continue to go up in those first few weeks of April. April 11th, 835 patients in our ICUs in our public hospitals. April 14th, it went up to 887. Now it started to come down, but it's 796 in today's report. So again, 796 compared to 835 10, 11, 12 days ago. That's not the movement we need. Progress, we see the capacity for progress, but we don't see the movement we need. So we have to keep working to get it right. Look, put it all in perspective. Think about all the people we've lost already. Think about how much the hospitals had to do just to hold on. All those ICU beds they added, all the personnel they brought in, all the doctors and nurses and healthcare workers, the extraordinary long hours they fought through. The fact that we had to bring in the military medical personnel. We had to hire people from all over the country as well to come in just to hold the line. And so we need to understand just keeping where we are now and making even slow and steady progress, that's still putting a huge strain on those hospitals and those healthcare workers. God forbid there was a resurgence. And this is another reason for caution. If there was a resurgence, think about the heroes, think about the people we're celebrating every day, every night. Think about when 7 p.m. when we applaud them. Think about what a resurgence would do to them and how much pressure, how much stress, how much strain it would put on them if this disease came back. If that were to happen once again, there'd be more and more people in the hospitals. We go back to having to create new hospitals, new beds. We don't ever want to go there again. Indicator number 3, percentage of people testing positive for COVID-19. So this obviously gives us some sense of how widespread this is in the city. And we've said from the very beginning, you know, I still say that the saddest part of this whole very painful reality is what could have been if on the first day that I called for testing for New York City from the federal government, January 24th, if on that day the federal government had acted for New York City, for New York State, for cities and states all over the country and gotten us the testing in the beginning of February, this entire scenario would have been different. We would have seen so much less pain. And so now we have still so many new positive cases, but we don't know even the beginning of it because we can't test anywhere near the level that we need to. What it does tell us is still, of course, there's a lot of new positive cases, 2,519 yesterday. The more testing we get, the more truth we will find. The more testing we get, the more we can fight back and contain this disease. All roads lead to testing. It's literally, the more you have, the more you can trace each person's reality and get them the help they need, figure out who needs to be isolated. All those things become possible the more testing you have. So even with the limitations, we still have information that's valuable here. So when we launched indicators April 11th, 58% of those being tested were testing positive. For the citywide measure for the public health lab, it was 78%. Where we are now, much better, 32% citywide, 57% for the public health lab. But still a long way to go. That's definite improvement, but we needed to keep going down more. So what can we say? We're decelerating. You're seeing all these charts. making very clear. No, sometimes charts and graphs and those things don't tell you much. These are telling us something. Yes, we're decelerating. That's a very good thing. But we need to finish the job. We need to go farther, because if it were to level off, that's not acceptable. You know, we've heard this word plateau. Plateau is not a good word. Plateau is a dirty word where I come from. This is, in this case, plateau means too many people suffering on a consistent basis. And we can't have that. We need the deceleration to go down further so we can link it up, so we can hand off. We need to go through the efforts we're going through now, everything you're doing that's helping make you safe and healthy, everyone else safe and healthy. We have to hand off that effort to the testing and tracing we talked about yesterday, because all of what you're doing alone gets us a long way, but we have to be able to test and trace to finish the job. We've got to be able to suppress this disease and contain this disease. So, putting the pieces together. The indicators tell us a lot. We're going to keep showing them to you every day. We're going to keep analyzing them every day. They tell us a lot. They tell us there's progress, and they tell us there's still real work to be done. They tell us, don't give an inch here. Do not relax. Do not let this disease back in the door. They tell us about the power of social distancing and shelter in place. They tell us that it has been smart to postpone those big events, to only have essential workers out and keep non-essential businesses closed. They certainly tell us still, and it's sad, but we got to keep our schools closed for the rest of the school year. They tell us we have to be smart and careful. And then it makes abundantly clear that to get to the pathway to normal, we need the firepower of testing and tracing. That handoff must happen, and we have to have a large-scale testing effort to do it, much more than what we have available today in New York City. But we're going to keep fighting, because we're finally getting more test kits. We're going to create our own in the coming days here in the city, and we're going to keep expanding every effort to get the test kits in, to get the lab capacity, because this is how we get to the next level. And I described to you yesterday a huge initiative in May, unlike anything we've seen in this city ever before. Thousands and thousands of people will be a part of it. Testing people, tracing their contacts, isolating everyone who needs isolating, supporting them. That is the way forward. It will take a huge effort, but that's how we actually beat this disease. And that's when we actually get to relax these restraints and start back to normal. So I want to just take that from where I started to this point. We all want to get back to normal. We all want to breathe free. We all have to fight together to get to that point. It's a very painful struggle, but a noble struggle. We can do it. And I hope you see the progress in the numbers and this idea of the handoff to the strategies of suppression and containment, handoff to the testing and tracing. That's how we get to the day where we can actually ease these restrictions and start to have a normal life again. So I'm going to go over the daily numbers one more time, since we do it every single day, just show you the day-to-day comparison. So again, on the three indicators, daily number of people admitted to hospitals, down. Again, there's a couple of day lag here, so down April 20th, 252, April 21st, 227, real progress. Daily number of people in ICUs, down April 20th, 821, April 21st, 796, real progress. Percentage of people citywide testing positive, down just by a little, but we still like anything that's moving in the right direction, from 33% to 32%. The only place where we didn't have progress in this daily report is in the public health lab. Their tests went up, but slightly, from 54% to 57%. So this is a good day. It's not the perfect day we're looking for where everything moves together in the same direction, but it's a good day. And we just have to keep doing what we're doing. Okay, just a couple more things for you today. So, what a very painful reality in one way, and a very emotional reality in another way, and a very maybe clarifying reality is the way to think of it at the same time, that this horrible, tough journey we've all had to go on coincided with such profoundly important holidays of the major faiths of this city. We all wish that the celebrations of Easter and Passover could have been so different. And yet, I talked about it at the time, I think a lot of people talked about it, that the power and the meaning of those holidays really came through in some ways even more vividly because of what we were all suffering together. And a reminder of the endurance of our ancestors in each faith, a reminder of the messages and the values and the meaning of each faith when it came to strength and community, when it came to belief and charity and being there for each other. And now we find ourselves once again about to celebrate a profoundly important holiday of one of our major faiths. So tonight marks the start of Ramadan. And there's hundreds of thousands of Muslim New Yorkers who, for this moment, this is the most important time of the year. And I want to say to all of our Muslim brothers and sisters, you have been going through so much, as we all have, and not able to worship and not able to do the things that you're used to doing as part of your faith. But you've shown strength, as all New Yorkers have, and you've joined with everyone else in fighting back this disease. One of Ramadan's most noble callings is to feed the hungry. And it's a crucial part of how the holiday is celebrated, to remember to be there for those in need. And that is now harder than ever. Obviously, people can't go to their mosques. In fact, mosques have often been a place that those who were hungry, those who were poor, would know they could go during Ramadan to break the fast. They knew there would always be a meal there for them. That's not going to be true in this season. So we want to, the city of New York wants to support this community as we're supporting all communities. We've been making sure there's food for every New Yorker. And we've tried to also make sure that for those with special food needs, that we could be responsive. So we've been creating kosher food programs and halal food programs to recognize that we're all in this together. We want to respect all the people, all the faiths of New York City. This is part of what makes New York City so great, that we have that mutual respect. And we understand that we all come together to create something greater than the sum of the parts. So for anyone who needs food, again, no New Yorker will go hungry. Any New Yorker needs food. It will always be there for you during this crisis. Your city will provide. There's no question. For those who need halal meals, there will be 400,000 halal meals available at 32 specific Department of Education sites. Remember, overall, we have 435 sites. Keep reminding people, anyone who needs food, whether it's to go to one of those DOE sites or home deliveries, whatever you need, call 311 or go to nyc.gov/getfood. But for folks who need halal meals, there will be 32 of those DOE sites in particular focused where there are large Muslim communities. 400,000 meals available. Another 100,000 will be distributed through partnerships with community-based organizations, food pantries, soup kitchens. So over 500,000 meals will be distributed during Ramadan. And it's a reminder, this is a place that truly believes in equality. It's something that is a profound New York City value. People have come here from all over the world, all over the country from time immemorial, always knowing this was a place where everyone has a chance to achieve their dreams, their goals. Everyone is respected. You know, there are people out there, and I'm not happy when I see this, there are people who are naysayers about the future of New York City. There are people who are trying to suggest that New York City won't come back or won't be as good in the future. I think that's absolutely wrong. I think that people who say that don't understand New York City and New Yorkers. New York City will come back. New York City's been through a lot. Over many generations, New York City has always come back. And New Yorkers are made of something very strong, very powerful. We come back, and then we find a way to do something even better. We come back, and we find a way to answer the questions that were dredged up by the crisis and create a place that's even more fair, that's even more respectful of each and every one of our fellow New Yorkers. We come back and we find a way to be stronger. That's just who we are. It's been proven time and time again. Anyone who's telling you it's not going to happen this time doesn't understand history, but they clearly don't understand New Yorkers. So I am convinced that that spirit of equality that pervades this place is going to sustain us. That's why whoever you are, if you're hungry, we're going to feed you. And that has meant in the month of April, we expect about 10 million meals to be served to New Yorkers in need. That could be more like 15 million in May, but we will be there for you no matter what. So, as I conclude, I want to refer to a phrase I've been hearing lately that I find very troubling on the national scene. And President Trump has been amplifying this idea of states being, quote unquote, liberated. He's been tweeting out, liberate Michigan, liberate Virginia. Well, you know what? We all want to get back to normal. That's true. We all want to get rid of these restrictions. We all want to start our economy again, get back to our jobs. Who doesn't? Everyone wants that in common. What does liberate mean? Liberate means being free from danger, having the security of knowing you can live your life. Well, you know what? If we don't protect people's health, we're not going to be liberated. If because of political slogans or political agendas or more focus on corporations and the stock market than human beings, if there's some effort to liberate that forgets about people and their families and their health and their safety, it will not only backfire, it will set us back by months and months. And the recovery we all hope and pray for will be diminished and slowed, and people will suffer. So it comes to everything I've been talking to you about today. We all want to be liberated, but you can only be liberated by the truth. You can only be liberated when it's real and not a lie. So I know in New York City, when we get to the day where we start to open things up, it's going to be because we're absolutely convinced that we're truly at the right moment to do it. And I think you will be convinced too, because you'll be seeing all the facts. And then together with confidence, we can move into a new reality. But any place that attempts to, quote unquote, liberate before they have the facts, before they have the proof, they're actually going to be chaining their people to a painful reality and prolonging this agony. That's my warning. Here, we're going to do it right, and we're going to look back and be glad we did. Let me do a few words in Spanish.
You've been listening to Mayor de Blasio give an update on the coronavirus outbreak here in New York City. We're now going to return to regular programming on CBS 2. For extended local coverage, stick with our streaming service, CBSN New York. I'm Chris Raggi.
This has been a special report from CBS 2 News.